Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to nowhere in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 139. We're on Black Friday, post-Thanksgiving, and you know what? Let's ring in this holiday season with a holiday special brought to you by the lovely folks at Marvel Studios.
How was your holiday, Chris? How was Thanksgiving?
It was good. Lots of good food to be eaten and plenty of leftovers. My in-laws are in town, so gonna celebrate the early holidays with them this weekend. So all in all, so far, I've gotten relaxing. If you hear me, I'm feeling a lot better. It's basically a big 180. However, my daughter is the last one in the house to come down with it, but she's on the mend right now. So everyone's doing relatively well, and shopping is almost complete for me for the holidays. But how was your Thanksgiving?
That's good. Did the Thanksgiving thing with the in-laws yesterday. We will do stuff with my family on Sunday this weekend when my sister's back in town. We did a very, very large amount of shopping today, so. Mm-hmm. Just to be clear, online. Like, it was a big online order. I did not step foot in a single store.
I'll have to step foot into a store this week to return something, but nothing will be
tomorrow. I'm running to Target to pick up a curbside order, and we're like, oh, we should have done this too. I'm like, all right, well, I'll run in and brave it when.
Yeah. But we'll get there. But yeah, so good thing, light news week, but a very enjoyable and delightful special presentation we're gonna break down for you all with this holiday special. But let us get through the show plugs and the notes and everything like that. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see that full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance on Twitter at GWAPod Network so you know when all the shows are dropping. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we got 2 tiers. Our dollar tier is our tip jar, and our tier 2 is our $5 tier, which gives you ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU Rewatch. We have recorded episode 11, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, and it will drop for patrons next Monday. So give you something fun to listen to on the Patreon feed.
Yeah, it's ready to go. It's posted Monday morning. Take a look for that. And then, I guess I need to watch Guardians Volume 2, which will be next up on our list.
Yep, next up on our list. And if you haven't joined us on Patreon, please join us on there at www.patreon.com/GUA Network. And again, thank you all patrons. We cannot do this without your support. And if you can't join us on Patreon, totally understand. If you can take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review our GUA feed and Marvel Line solo feed, whatever you can, we greatly appreciate that 5-star review. And last, but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with immaculate customer service, excellent packaging, ships around the world. The new final order cutoff has dropped last week, and we've got a couple of big ones here. Ultimate X-Men Omnibus Volume 2, first time ever in printing. That is now up for pre-order. And after many, 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 many years of being in probably one of the worst binding jobs ever for Marvel Zombies, the Marvel Zomnibus, is coming back into print with better binding. Check out that. But also give a quick plug. They are running a holiday special for a ton of books they have in overstock right now with an extra 15% off all titles. Just looking at Marvel books right now, they have 203 books that you can get an extra 15% off in addition to using that code MarvelGUA at checkout. So check that out, and we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. One extra show network update is that Superhero Discussions is no more on the network. It's not over.
They're gone.
They're gone. They're never coming back at that point. However, Hines is still here, and they have been officially renamed. He has renamed it the Animation Nation Podcast. They are still part of the network. He's just feeling that since he's covering anything and everything to do with animation, not limiting just to superheroes, just wanted to do a quick renaming. So it'll still drop on Wednesday morning. So we wanted to give that that quick update to the feeds. And also, I forgot to mention this: World's Finest True Believers will be dropping its newest episode on Sunday morning. New guest, a good friend of mine, BJ Kicks, has a great YouTube channel, and we'll be doing something. I dropped a preview tweet this afternoon, and we'll be doing something X related. So if you check that out, you'll see some of the preview images. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to figure out what we'll be talking about.
X-rated.
X-rated, related. You hear what you wanted to hear.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
No, you're not. No, you're not. So, but yeah, so definitely check those out. And, but yeah, so starting off, got a few people joining us in chat. Omari Danas, yes, thank you. We had a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully you did, Omari. And David saying, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Now let's get our sights on the holidays. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. Yes, we will be dealing with that shortly. But before we get into some holiday cheer, we do want to kind of mention and kind of remember another unfortunate loss in our geek community. Jason David Frank, we found out this on Sunday morning, had passed away. Rumors and based on sources are saying that unfortunately he may have committed suicide. Age 49 years old. We've had some pretty tough losses in the past 2 weeks in our community, but this one definitely hits hard, particularly regarding even the circumstances of it. Power Rangers is a big part of me and my geekdom at that point. And I'm not going to mince words. Jason David Frank was my favorite Ranger. From Green Ranger to White Ranger to all the Rangers, he was a part of this. I mean, he literally is one of the biggest legacy character on this show. And it hurts, but it hurts even worse at whatever was going on, that he felt this was just he was that in much pain. And before we definitely want to say anything at that point, if any of you listeners or everyone listening to this are ever in that much pain, my DMs are open, our DMs are open. Reach out or dial 988 or talk to 741-741 for the suicide prevention hotline, or for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. You're not alone, and you are loved, and I just cannot imagine what's going on for his close family and friends. My heart literally pours out to him, and it's just hard to not think about Power Rangers without him being a part of it.
Yeah, this one hurt. Like you and like so many others, Tommy Oliver was absolutely my favorite Ranger. I'll be honest, I didn't stick with Power Rangers much past the Mighty Morphin days. A little bit, but not. Basically, there was the original cast, the three who came in partway through that and changed, and it wasn't much past that I saw. But I remember being over the moon excited when the White Ranger was revealed to be Tommy. I was super pumped about that. He was absolutely my favorite character on the show. My son every now and then watches some, and when he's watching one with Tommy in it, it still just makes me smile. I regret that I never had the chance to meet him. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I regret that I never took the chance to meet him, because he definitely was at my local Comic-Con once or twice, but I never, frankly, I never made the time, and I should have, and I regret that. It's a huge loss to the Power Ranger community, obviously, easily their most famous, well-known one. It's a huge loss to the geek community. It's been a couple of really rough weeks, for us, losing just a couple of icons in geek fandom. So it sucks. So this one hit hard. My TikTok FYP has basically become a massive Jason David Frank tribute. I'm seeing tons of videos of him interacting with fans or clips from the shows, or combinations of the two, and they're all awesome. I'm watching just about all of them. So this one definitely hurts.
And in a way, he continues to live on through the comic series with Boom Studios. At that point, it's an amazing series, and they've been able to capture the essence of what Jason David Frank brought to Tommy Oliver and enhanced it.
Yeah,
It's
I've
there.
read some of that. I didn't read Shattered Grid. I got up to like in front of Shattered Grid and then kind of fell off of it. But that had more to do with comicsology than anything else, just because
Yeah,
I really have grown to not like that platform. But
but in
I may have to dive back into it and read some of that.
Yeah, and a plug for a great one shot, a great conclusion to Tommy's arc as a Power Ranger, Soul of the Dragon. It's a great one shot, brings his story to a conclusion, but very heartfelt story. But it's just one of those, yeah. It's again, if for his family, his friends, everyone who's ever close to him, anyone who ever met him, our hearts go out to you. Again, Tommy Oliver was just a great representation of a ranger, and that was brought to life by Jason David Frank. So rest in power, Jason David Frank. You are missed, you are loved, and yeah, there's no great way to say this, Brent. So
Indeed. I want to mention a couple of comments that Omari Daniels put in the chat. One, the 30th anniversary special next year with some of the Mighty Morphin cast will probably have a big tribute to him. Absolutely. I would be stunned if they didn't. It's a shame that he won't be a part of that. And then he also said he still hasn't watched Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Rangers video. I will tell you, Omari, that is a hard watch. It is
yes,
heartbreaking. Several of the Rangers, former Rangers and stuff have posted tributes. I found hers to be the one hardest to actually get through. So
yeah.
make sure you're in the right headspace when you watch it.
Yeah, it is. I still remember just thinking about like my most prized possession as a kid was my White Ranger action figure with the Tiger Zord. At that point, God,
Oh
played,
man.
I
Oh man.
played that so much.
I was calling the stores every day to ask if that had come in stock. And it never did for me when I called. But it did when my mom checked one time. And that was under my Christmas tree that year. And so yes, I have very, very happy memories with the Power Ranger toys. Several of those are still in use by my son today.
Well, that's again, we have those memories, but yeah. So thank you, Jason David Frank, for all the memories, and you will continue to live on through the show, through the comics, and everything like that. So, as we happened last week, no easy transition, but our main part of the show tonight is the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that dropped today on Friday at that point. So this is officially our last bit of MCU content for this year. And I'd have to say this was absolutely delightful, Brent, to watch this morning at that point. What are some of your non-spoiler thoughts?
The Guardians holiday special was exactly what I wanted it to be. I wasn't looking for something super serious. I wasn't looking for some deep thing. I wasn't looking for clues to the next big, the next Thanos, if you will. No, I just wanted a fun adventure with the Guardians basically celebrating Christmas. And that's exactly what we got. It was, you said delightful. That is the perfect word. I was cracking up throughout this thing. There was some music that I genuinely liked. There's a new song written for this, performed by the old 97s. Loved it. Just to answer a question that we had from DC Alla, that was my favorite song from the thing. I haven't listened to it yet on Apple Music, but I've added it to my library. It's definitely on there. No, I loved this special. What they did with this was so much fun. And at the same time, we still got some clues about things for Guardians 3, I think. There were some fun Easter eggs in there, but I think we still got some things that Guardians 3 is probably going to pick up the ball on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's one of those that, you get some of where the progress is going to be, some things that we didn't know about till we started watching this. And again, I think James Gunn is, again, this was something that you can see his fingerprints all over this and the love about this. This is just a lot of fun, and it gives two characters, Drax and Mantis, who have been, Drax has been with us since the beginning. Mantis came in Volume 2, but, this is a chance for where Drax and Mantis really got to shine, and we had a lot of fun with them. So, but yeah, I'm ready to get into spoilers if you are before we get into the ad break.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
Yep. All right. So, listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So, give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, all right. So we look at the opening of it. It opens with a song by the band, the Pogues, "Fairy Tale of New York," and the Marvel Studio logo cues up, starting off with Christmas themed comics with snow. Like I love the Christmas themed comics. There's a lot of Santa in it. And remember, for those that don't know, Santa is a mutant. He is an Omega level mutant in the Marvel universe in the comics.
I totally forgot about that.
That is
Oh
canon.
my gosh.
That is canon. Omega level mutant.
I forgot that was a thing.
Yep, it is a thing. Also, I love that, at the end you have lights all over it. You've got snow coming down. And we do have 2 new additions within the logo. She-Hulk is now included, and Shuri as Black Panther is included.
Love it. Side note, I'm a little surprised at the Shuri thing, and I'm just a little surprised in general about that. Like we've said for our show, like this is the week where that movie is fair game. But I'm still just a little surprised at how Marvel has been putting it out there officially. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah, exactly. And but it was one of those things that it was, I had a feeling they were going to go, have a little fun with it at that point. It wasn't just going to be the standard Marvel logo, but I loved how they did include kind of those Christmas themed comic issues at that point. So, we cut away to a surprise. I when I first watched it, I said, that looks like a different kind of way they're filming it. I said, oh no, that's animated. So we start off with an animated sequence with this. And that was kind of interesting. What did you feel about that?
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, it was fine. Like I like the story they told via animation. It was just a nice little touching story with Yondu. And at the end of it, I asked my wife, "Did you think the whole thing was going to be an animation?" Because she didn't obviously watch the trailer or anything. She knew we were watching the Guardians Holiday Special, but she didn't know anything else. And she said she actually did think the whole thing was going to be an animation. So I think she was probably excited it wasn't, but it was a nice little story. Kraglin and Peter are just trying to have a little bit of Christmas cheer. Peter's talking about it, and playing the part of the Grinch would be Yondu. It's great to have Michael Rooker come back and voice. And we knew that he had been reported as reprising the role of Yondu. I like that they did it this way. I think that was clever. Part of me wonders, was this a thing to keep him off set, to try and keep it under wraps? Was this just a scheduling thing where he had time to record lines, but he didn't have time to come on set? I don't know what it is. I'm glad for the way they did it. I think it's great. It was cute. I liked it.
Yeah, and especially where they made it look like a cartoon out of the 70s and 80s, and they actually used a technique called rotoscoping. It's where they basically use real actors acting out the scenes, and then animators would go back and trace over the top, allowing the animations to move more fluid and look like the real actors would. So, I mean, leave it to James Gunn to kind of pull something in from the past and bring it to say, oh, wow, this is really cool,
Yeah, and I liked it. It's like, I too, like Drax, I laugh when Yondu kicks the Christmas tree.
Yes. Yeah, we see Peter, who is voiced by Luke Klein. He is not the original actor from Volume 1, teaching Kraglin about Christmas, and with a makeshift Christmas tree with an alarm light as a star. And like you said, Yondu doesn't like this idea of gift giving, since to him it feels like handouts and charity. And remember, he says sentimentality will get you killed out in space. He tells him if he doesn't get all this stuff out of here right then, they will be cleaning the toilets for a year. And I love Kraglin's line, but wait a minute, that's Jeff's favorite job.
It was his favorite job. So hopefully he was able to continue doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And so we end it with, as you said, Yondu Smat kicking over the tree, and we see who's the narrator. This is none other than Kraglin, and Kraglin goes, and that's how Yondu ruined Christmas. And to me, that just is like a perfect way of saying, oh, so this is the Grinch of our story at that point.
Yeah, and this conversation is where we get the first of what I would think of are two major tidbits potentially going forward. They're not much part of. They're not well. One of them is this is not a major part of this episode or installment of the Guardians, but going forward it could be they bought Nowhere from the Collector.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, when did they do this? Right? Like Scott from Squadcast Media was texting me earlier asking me that very question, and I'm like, I don't technically know. I assume after Love and Thunder, but. I only assume that because all of them were gone during Love and Thunder because they were palling around with Thor. So I assume it came after that, but I don't know that to be true at this point.
Yeah, hopefully it might get a little bit of an answer at that point. They're saying they have to get it livable. I mean, people are living there, but they're still doing a lot of repair work because remember, in the end of, Infinity, at the end of Volume 1, the Collector's place was destroyed, and then Thanos comes in Infinity War and really rips it to shreds. So they've got a lot of cleanup to do with it. And so we see some of the cleanup happening, and we see Cosmo on the ground working with Rocket and using her telekinesis to hang some panels on the building. And she's voiced by Maria Bakalova, who was Borat's daughter in the sequel. And, it's kind of interesting. She's got a universal translator. Cosmo does have telekinesis from the comics. And in the comics, as I mentioned during our trailer breakdown, Cosmo and Rocket really don't get along. I don't think you don't get that completely hatred for each other right now, but you get kind of Rocket being slightly annoyed by Cosmo, especially when she's demanding for those treats in his pocket.
Well, I like that Cosmo basically is like, well, I'm not going to do this for you if you're just going to put me down while I'm doing it. She's just trying to use the telekinesis to hang some stuff on the walls for him, and she's having no part of it. And I mean, I'm already just laughing. I'm like, yes, hopefully Cosmo's in Volume 3. Give me more Rocket and Cosmo.
Yep, I think that has been confirmed. Cosmo will be in Volume 3, so we get to see our early preview of that. And so we see Peter walking around, and he meets an alien played by Rhett Miller from the old 97s, who has written a song about Christmas that he wants Peter to hear to see if it's accurate. And actually, the rest of the old 97s are playing the other aliens in the band, and the song is it's just great. Like you said, it's definitely next to the ending song for this show, for this special presentation. It's great. As David said, Chris. What Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. So many of the different lyrics. I'd love just to see the lyric breakdown and just like every time he's like, no, Peter's like, no, this is not right. You're so wrong about this.
I was just cracking up watching it, just cracking up. I've seen this special twice, and both times just grinning ear to ear during this sequence. You get lines like he'll roast your chestnuts with this flamethrower, right? Like I absolutely just hilarious. And hearing Peter in the middle of it comment on the lines of the song, like, no, that's completely wrong, or oh, actually, that's pretty right, or oh, that was a cool part. Like it's just pure fun, pure fun. Fantastic Christmas song.
Yeah, we see Groot in the background, young adult Groot or Swole Groot, as James Gunn. James Gunn has said that they've calling him on set. After the song is over, Mantis says she should do something because big revelation. She is Peter's sister because Ego was her father too. So technically half sister.
So side note on this, Marvel leaked this early themselves. They released it.
They put out the legend things a little early.
Right. So the legend thing comes out. That in case you don't know, on Disney Plus, before all the Phase 4 projects, Marvel put out these little legends. They're like 5 to 8 minute little recaps on particular characters related to a certain project. I haven't watched the last few, to be honest. Frankly, if you're listening to this show, you probably don't need to. But the one on Mantis has a scene from a deleted scene of Guardians Volume 2 where she reveals to Drax that Ego is her biological father, making her Peter Quill's sister. She doesn't want to tell him because she doesn't want basically Peter to have that pain of seeing Ego every time he looks at her. Okay, cool storyline. That's different. It's definitely different from the comics. I dig it. I like it, but I heard about this. I didn't go watch the Legends thing at the time. I'm just like, you know what? We're so close to it. I'm just going to watch. I'll watch it later. I went to watch it after I saw the show this morning, and they had pulled it. Marvel pulled it down. I'm like, wait a minute. I swear this was out. I found confirmation it was pulled, and whatever. But I still think it's a cool storyline. I think it's a cool idea. They never were very clear on the relationship between Mantis and Ego. We just knew that she was working for him. Turns
Well,
out, it's her dad.
well, it was catch it if you miss it, because not the deleted scene, but if you remember in volume 2, he has this one moment where you're seeing everyone, like all these models of everyone he's hooked up with
Yep.
at that point. In the back left corner, you will see him making out with Mantis's mother, or of the species. So again, it's a blink if you miss it moment at that point.
Well,
but
then I've blinked several times, but we're going to be watching it again for Patreon next month, and I guarantee you, I will be watching that back left corner on that particular watch, and I will be rewinding it if I miss it.
There we go. So canon, not canon at that point, but she makes that revelation officially now. And Drax is more upset that her secret she's not revealing is eating all the particular snack in the break room.
The Zarg nuts. Yes.
The Zarg nuts.
He's very, very upset about the Zarg nuts, and she just screams at him to shut up about them. Which Zarg nuts, I believe, is what he was eating in Infinity War when he was practicing his invisibility. So
exactly,
he goes back with those things.
Yeah, he needs those. So they come up with a plan saying we're gonna get something that he really wants, someone he looks up to. They're gonna kidnap the great Kevin Bacon, and give him as a gift to Peter because he loves him so much. And Drax is like, yes, this is a great idea.
I mean, what could be a better idea? It makes complete and total sense. They love the stories. They've appreciated these stories of the great Kevin Bacon. Peter looks up to him. He idolizes this legendary hero. Let's go get him, right? And just at a drop of a hat, they just fly to Earth and just walking around Los Angeles and Hollywood, and they're looking for it. I love it when they see all the cosplayers and stuff.
Oh
so
my
funny.
Gosh. Yeah, it's a new ship that they're on too. The Benatar still exists, but this ship is, as we find out the name of it at the end, it's called the Bowie.
It's a really cool design. Really cool design.
I especially when they're coming into Earth atmosphere at that point and coming into Los Angeles there, all these people are looking up and this woman's freaking crying out of fear. And I can't blame her, especially because of what Earth has been through at that point. I was like, okay, this is accurate. She's like, did you forget to turn on the cloaking thing? No, of course not. He kind of leans over and clicks it on, and they land at the Hollywood sign, and they have a long walk ahead of them.
Yeah, like we said, Drax isn't he's not the destroyer that we know from the comics.
No, he is
but
not.
In the movies, he's pretty damn funny. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a couple of quick, musical cues at this point, Christmas songs at that point, when we see Kevin Bacon in real life heading home from shopping, he's listening to Dead by Christmas by the Hanoi Rocks. And when it goes back to Mantis and Drax and the ship, it's I Wish It Was Christmas Today by Julian Casablancas. So, I mean, we know James Gunn is a huge music connoisseur and is always wanting to give, not just, people their due, but at that point just exposing the general audience to these amazing bands within themselves. So,
oh, absolutely.
But you're right. As they're walking down, they go to they walk by the Grome's Chinese Theater, and all the cosplayers running up to Steve and thinking it's Steve back from the dead at that point, or back from his stint on the moon. You never know. And
just the way she yells Steve, and it's like,
I know
it surprised me at first. I was like, no, like she would have met him, right? Like she was there in game, and then for Tony's funeral, like she would have met him, but. As funny as that was, Drax's reaction to seeing the GoBot was even better.
I can't believe he called him a GoBot at that point, when it's really it's Cycle from the Transformers. But like Mantis said, no, like the GoBot killed his cousin. That's why you got to stay away from him.
She yells at Drax to not be a bigot.
I know. Now, did you catch in the background before Mantis runs out to go to the cosplayer playing Captain America? There is a movie poster with Kingo as the lead.
Yep. Just reminding us that, the Eternals are a thing. We haven't heard from them in a while at this point, but they are still out there.
Yeah, they're out there. And, the interesting thing is as people start wanting to take pictures with them, people are unaware who they are. And I wondered about that just because I remember back in Miss Marvel, we saw people cosplaying as Drax at Avengers Con. and they're just wanting to take pictures of him just being an interesting cosplayer. In fact, one of the families says, we just took a picture with God of War, so from the game Kratos at that point. So it's just interesting, not everyone may know, but I found it interesting that at least some people know who Drax is.
Yeah, I kind of assumed of all those people taking pictures, maybe some of them knew who he was, some of them didn't know who he is, some of them were just like, "Oh, cool costume, man! I'm going to take your picture." But either way, they quickly found they could make some money that way.
They made a lot of money. I don't know how much money they made, but they made a lot of money at that point. So at the end, they eventually walk and head into a bar looking for Kevin Bacon. The bartender they talk to is played by Flula Borg, who was actually Javelin in the Suicide Squad. So again, James.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
He looked familiar to me, but I didn't know why.
Yep. Yeah. So James Gunn's always big on bringing back people he likes working with. So yeah. So he played Javelin in the Suicide Squad. They get drunk. And Mantis goes dancing, and Drax gets hit on and has to go to dance, and he says that's what simpletons do.
Yes, like he wants no part of dancing, which you might remember him talking about his wife to Peter and basically explaining that it doesn't matter what music is playing, she would stay perfectly still. And well, it excited him, let's say.
It did. So they eventually are done. They get outside the bar, and a person overhears them saying they're looking for Kevin Bacon. She tries to sell them a map to the stars, and they have no money. So Mantis touches the woman and uses her powers to say, give us the map for free and all your money. She freaking robs her.
Oh, yeah. No, Mantis was pretty liberal with the powers there, and she does just straight up like, give me all your money. Never once did she seem to, well, maybe that's the money they used to pay for all the Christmas stuff later, but I just kind of assumed they stole
We're
it
actually
all.
thinking, I'm about to say, I think they stole all that stuff.
I kind of assumed they stole most of it at least, but regardless, Mantis, I mean, it made me laugh. It was like,
oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, like, do you want to give me this for free? And give me all your money. Like, okay.
So if they're searching for Kevin on the map, we see this animated map, and we see I saw like Arnold Schwarzenegger on there, Margot Robbie, John Cena was on there, and they eventually make it to Kevin Bacon's home. And when we flash inside of Kevin Bacon's home, he's watching a very old B movie called Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which is pretty much as meta and on the nose as you can get with basically what's about to happen to him.
Yeah, that works out pretty well, especially with the song that they're about to play. I want an alien for Christmas.
Yes, another good one as well. So Drax and Mantis ring his doorbell outside the gate. Kevin sees who they are, and he says, no, you can't come in. And they keep buzzing it and makes it worse. And Drax throws Mantis over the gate without preparing her for it. And while they're on the property, Drax gets really excited and takes one of the inflatable L's. Mantis takes one of the candy canes. And then they come to the door, which we saw in the trailer, and ringing the doorbell. And he's like, no, dude, this is not cool. I'm calling the police. And Drax doesn't even break down the door. He breaks through the glass of the door. And a huge chase ensues. And this is where we actually see Mantis's abilities, her kind of quote unquote insect-like abilities of jumping, having high jumps, but also attaching herself to walls and everything.
The high jumps, I'm like, why did you need Drax to throw you over the
True.
gate? Comically, yes, it was good. It was for the joke, it was worth it. But I'm like, you sure seem to be jumping plenty high to get over that gate on your own later in this very same thing.
Oh, yeah, especially when Kevin Bacon's running through the streets and you see Drax and her having really high jumping abilities to do that as well.
Him. Yep.
Another great laugh out moment is when the cops show up in the street and they say, put your hands up, and Drax they don't put their hands up, and the woman police officer shoots at Drax, and he just laughs saying, it tickles, he might pee his pants.
Yeah, and then Mantis she takes them all down. That girl shows she can fight. Like, I think that's the most real fighting we have seen her do.
True.
And, you said this was a opportunity for showcasing these two characters who have been often on the sidelines, since both their introductions. And yeah, like this was Mantis's first big fight scene. And she looked great doing it. And I liked how she would knock him down and then just immediately put him to sleep, right? Like she didn't need to keep beating on him or anything. Just, incapacitate him, put him to sleep. In time to look over and watch Drax flip a cop car over, standard.
Yeah. She gets a little mad at him, thinking that she killed him, but thankfully he didn't. So Mantis uses her powers on Kevin Bacon to make him go with him, and then they steal a whole lot of stuff at that Christmas shop and they get back on the Bowie and head for nowhere. And so Mantis asks him, does he know the Foz? And Kevin Bacon says, well, he does. He kind of had lunch with him. Does that count as a team up? And she's like, no. And they start talking about the things that Peter's told them about Kevin Bacon, saying it's amazing, how you saved that town from Footloose and that you killed this serial killer named Jason. He's like, no, those are characters I played, and they suddenly have a realization that he's not a hero, he's an actor, and they're so disgusted at the idea of an actor thinking that they're going to ruin this Christmas for Peter.
Yeah, I loved Mantis trying not to throw up during this, just gagging at the very thought of having an actor in their presence.
Yeah, and then she touches them and says, "You need to act like a hero." And I just love it. Like the script writing says, "Okay, act like a hero." He's going to be a British World War II soldier. And she's like, no, talk in your normal voice. And he goes, hi, hello, I'm Batman. No, hello, I am Bruce Wayne. This is the second time in the MCU we have gotten DC characters referenced at that point. So Batman and Superman are in the MCU.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Drax has a line of like, "Who's Bruce Wayne?" Mantis says, "Don't be someone else. Be Kevin Bacon, but like if he didn't suck." And it's like, well, that's my line of the whole thing. That's the one line that got the biggest laugh out of me. But fantastic.
Yeah, be Kevin Bacon, but not suck. So we flash back to nowhere. Peter's eating alone at a bar and is lured outside by Groot, and he goes outside and all these Christmas lights come on and you have this huge surprise. And during the time, another Christmas song pops on, "Christmas Time Has Come" by the Smashing Pumpkins. A lot of fake snows coming down. So it's like this childhood moment for Peter, which was really cool.
It was. They basically recreated all of these, like this cliche Christmas movie scene where you have your main character standing in the middle of the town as the Christmas lights all turn on, just circling around looking. Like that's exactly what they did, but it looked really cool.
No, it definitely did. I like Drax's sweater where he's got a cat shooting lasers from its eyes.
Of course.
Yep. Groot wheels up a gift, and Peter opens it very carefully because you start hearing a voice saying they're about to pass out from not having much air left, and out pops Kevin Bacon in his possessed form at that point, and Peter gets very upset, saying, why are you doing this? We're now, this is human trafficking. And he makes Mantis take off her influence off of him, and that's when Kevin gets freaked out, and he says, "Don't run away when I let you go." And of course, he runs away, and he orders Kraglin to return him home on the Bowie. He runs away, and he orders Nebula, "Go get him." And she takes out her guns and, "Oh, he will not outrun me."
Yeah, she says, "You can't outrun me, Bacon." And all I could think is that line needs to just be used in like marketing campaigns for breakfast restaurants.
Just t-shirt.
"You can't outrun me, Bacon." Yes.
So Kraglin does get Kevin back on the ship, and he tells Kevin Bacon that he inspired Peter so much to be a hero that he literally saved the universe by having a dance-off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that keeps coming up.
Oh, yeah. And Kevin gets a call from his wife, Kira Sedgwick, who it sounded like her on the phone.
I wondered if it would be, but they brought up the very thing that I thought of is how in the world does his phone get reception?
Yep.
But they call it out on the show. Kraglin just says, a couple good satellites, you can get anything within 400 million light years. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So he tells her that he's out with friends and that they are, he's out with friends and he's asking her if he can stay out late because he needs to teach him about Christmas and what transpires next.
Right. And so after that, he goes back out to the town and he sings. Kevin sings a song with the old 97s or whatever their names are in the show. And it's great. It's like actually Kevin Bacon singing from what I could tell. And it's another good, fun, like original song, or at least I think it's an original song. But even if it's not, it's a great performance in this show.
I wonder if, I like, Kevin Bacon is is a singer at that point. So it's cool to have him, basically lead this with the old 97s. Here it is, Christmas time. I like the song. It was kind of a sweet song, a nostalgia song at that point. And you get moments where you get to see the Guardians giving gifts to each other. Groot gets a Game Boy from Peter. Nebula gives Rocket Bucky's arm, which I'm really interested to find out where she got that arm.
Like, oh my God, that was amazing. Just talk about like Groot getting the Game Boy. Okay, that makes sense. We've seen him playing lots of video games, and he's got the cute little smile when he sees and stuff. But Rocket seeing that arm, oh my gosh, that's a joke that's been rolling since 2014 when he asked for that guy's eye, and the Winter Soldier movie came out that year, and they keep going back to it.
And I just gotta know, but it may be one of those things like we'll never know at that point. Cosmo gives Kraglin a dead animal, and Mantis gives Drax the elf decoration, which he was so excited about.
Yes.
But now Groot gives everyone a gift. He gives a wooden diorama retelling the entire story we just witnessed.
And ending with Kraglin opening his, and it's a diorama of Kraglin holding the diorama of Kraglin holding the diorama. Yep. Very nesting doll style.
I mean, we got a very good preview of Groot's artistic abilities in I Am Groot, that final episode of I Am Groot. So, there is precedent for this.
Yeah.
And Mantis then later reveals to Peter that she is his sister, half-sister, which he says that's the best Christmas gift of all. And Peter tells how the story really ended with Yondu. And we cut back to the animation with Yondu digging through the trash and opens up his gift to see it was a troll, which we actually do see that troll in Volume 2. And it's part of his collection, that green troll. There isn't, in the trash can, there isn't even was a gift Peter had for Taserface.
Yes, there was. Taserface. Oh my gosh, so ridiculous.
But then Peter goes to his room and sees a gift for him. And it's from Yondu, and this is where he gets his quad blasters. And they ride off, and they ride in the sky, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all. We do get an end credits scene where Rocket and Cosmo are dressing Groot as a Christmas tree. And
Thank goodness.
Yep, we can't have that. We couldn't have that moment, but he can't keep his arms off, and he ruins Christmas. Thus, Rocket saying we need to have another holiday special.
I don't remember if I said it on mic or off, but I have talked about they need to put some ornaments on Groot. And I was so glad that they did that. So funny. Great way to end it. Such, like you said, a delight. Just a delightful special. It's their second special presentation. They've done that. They're 2 for 2 in my books. Please give me more of these.
Yeah, just a lot of fun. Again, we got little hints of what is going on for Volume 3. But again, is this required viewing for Volume 3? Not necessarily, but it's fun. There's nothing, I wouldn't put it past anyone saying you're wasting your time doing this. It's the holidays. You needed something new to watch. Here you go. Right on Disney Plus. 40 minutes. I think you could spare that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, completely.
So
agree.
Where do you put this in your rankings on your MCU list?
I guess I should probably run my thing to tell me what number it is, but I'll be honest, it's towards the bottom, but I loved it. It's just, as we've talked about, you've got to go, and it's got to go somewhere, and I'm going to defer to the longer projects, I think, overall. But, it's in the bottom half somewhere, for sure. I need to formalize where I'm going to put it.
Yeah, right now for me, it is number 33. It comes before Iron Man 3, and Eternals and Doctor Strange are before it.
Yeah, I've got it right before Iron Man 3 right now. So yeah, I need to figure out what number that is, but it was fun.
It's definitely a lot of fun and a good way to quote unquote officially close out Phase 4 for us at that point. So we are done with Phase 4. We don't know. Before the end of the year, Brent and I will do an episode looking at where we rank all of the Phase 4 projects. Brent, I know you sent me an image making sure you didn't forget anything at that point.
Right. It was a random image, though. I should have just put them in release order, but I pulled that out of my thing where I had them in what I believe is going to be my Phase 4 ranking. I need to look at it a little more, and I didn't want to send it to you that way. So my shortcut that runs and puts the numbers on and stuff, I told it to randomize the order first.
Yep.
No spoilers.
There we go. So anything else with the holiday special?
I loved it, and again, more special presentations, please. More of these with both new characters like Werewolf by Night and existing properties like Guardians of the Galaxy. More of this.
Yes, definitely. So we're going to take our next ad break before we get into our light news segment. So listeners, as you know, these ads keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and we can be a bit loud. They can be a bit loud, so give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. One final thing I forgot to mention in regards to the holiday special, and Omari Daniels asked it in our chat, saying where this takes place. They officially put it after Werewolf by Night, which Werewolf by Night is also preceded by Thor: Love and Thunder.
So that gives us, a clue as to where that takes place in the timeline, where maybe when they bought Nowhere.
And we actually did get a very interesting update of where Far From Home is in the timeline, because it moved it for us.
Yeah, it did. I saw you. I actually saw you moved it on our list first,
Yep.
and then it's like, what's going on there? And then I looked in our chat and realized, oh, Disney Plus UK moved it.
Yeah, where is Far From Home technically now?
Is right after Falcon and Winter Soldier, right before Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I was trying to remember the math and it all. WandaVision I know was started 3 weeks after Endgame. Falcon and Winter Soldier I think was 6, basically 6 months,
so.
And then Far From Home was about 8 or 9 months later. It was basically a school year later.
Yeah, so just some interesting tidbits at that point, but yeah, it's kind of our big news item for us this week is Blade. The Marvel's Blade has found a new director with Lovecraft Country's Helmer, Yann Demang. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Yann Demang, who directed the pilot for HBO's Lovecraft Country, has now come aboard to helm the new Blade reintroduction to the MCU. Michael Starbury, who earned an Emmy nomination for penning an episode of Ava DuVernay's drama When They See Us, has been hired to rewrite the new script at that point. And the new team puts the project right back on track, losing its original director, Bassem Tariq, in September. The parting of ways was due to creative differences and occurred suddenly as the project was in pre-production, heading towards a November production start in Atlanta. So rather than dramming another director in something that was clearly needed an overhaul, Marvel pressed pause for a deeper look and has found their directors. So, I have watched Lovecraft Country. It is a excellent HBO show. I was very disappointed to see that it was not going to get a second season. So, there was definitely some interesting discussion about this director that, hasn't done much, but definitely is coming from some really award-winning background, especially with Lovecraft Country.
I have not seen Lovecraft Country, but by reputation, it's got a very strong positive reputation. I know some people were disappointed maybe that they didn't get a more seasoned veteran director, but this definitely fits Marvel's MO to get a lot of their directors are people who've only directed 1, 2, 3 times or so. Somebody still kind of up and coming, if you will. Several of their directors had worked before, but not much. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And that Mahershala Ali is going to be fine with this. He's going to have signed off on it at this point, considering he's the whole reason this movie's getting made, because he went to Kevin Feige and said he wanted to play Blade. That it makes sense that he's going to certainly have his hand in those decisions.
And yes, On the Game is correcting me at that point. Demang. It is French. I'm probably still mispronouncing that, but thank you, All in the Game. He's also saying, I like his filmography with 71, Dead Set, Top Boy, and Lovecraft Country. So again, I'm always the first person to say, let me see what you can do before I can really form an opinion. But like I said, I've seen Lovecraft Country, so the fact of his involvement with that definitely gives me, positive outlook for what he's going to be doing with Blade. The new release date for Blade is set for September 6, 2024, so I don't know when they're looking at production in 2023, so my guess is maybe sometime in the spring. All depending on how quickly they get the script done.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So... But all right, so the last story for the night is looking at our Wakanda Forever Weekend 2 update and where it currently stands box office wise.
Yeah, reminder, it opened at $181 million, 63% drop for $66 million on weekend 2, which is about in line with what phase 4 has been. I looked up the rest of phase 4, and most things were either 68, 67% in that range. Shang-Chi was 54%, but it also opened at 75 million. It opened more than 100 million less than this. So the percentage is a lot better, but the actual numbers are significantly less. All in all, it's crossed 600 million. I looked that up just before we started tonight. Crossed 600 million as of this recording. I still think it's going to end. I think it's going to be somewhere between 800 and 900. I got to think it's going to top 800 still. Looking at the calendar, there's not much else coming between now and Avatar 2. And so it still has a couple more weeks to itself, basically. I mean, I know Knives Out is right. I'm hoping to go see Knives Out tomorrow, actually. It looks like I'm going to get to. But that's still only out for 1 week, and it's not a perfect circle of a Venn diagram there. There's still definitely different demographics. So it's still Black Panther's weekend, I think.
Yeah, it'll still be so. But yeah, so that is all the news for this week. So we're going to kind of roll right into our listener feedback section. So we did have one question earlier that we already answered from DC Outlaw, but I saw Mr. Snell had put a couple of questions for us to tackle tonight.
He did. First up, which MCU family would you want to spend a Christmas with, and who would you not want to spend it with?
That is an interesting. What do you have?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I'm not sure. Like, who would I most want to spend Christmas with? Gosh, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and, well, no, that doesn't work, actually. I don't have a great answer for this. Well, I'll say Black Widow's family. That'll be fun.
All right. That'll be interesting.
It'll be fun.
I'm going with the idea that he would still be alive. I would say I would love to spend Christmas with Tony Stark.
Sure, yeah. And I had thought about Peter.
Post Iron Man 3, not before that at that point, because we all know what happened in Iron Man 3. So
I had thought about Peter, but I'm like, well, that's just him. And, that's not with his family, right? Because, well,
you don't have a family anymore.
Right. So, well, I guess we'll let that go. Christmas with Sam could be a lot of fun. But
that's true.
That's who I thought about. Is I just Black Widow, that dinner scene that they have in the Black Widow movie, I think is hilarious. As for who I don't want to have it with, he mentioned Thanos, Gamora, and Nebula. I mean, yeah, I guess that definitely takes the cake. That's probably the best answer.
Yeah, that really is. I'm trying to figure out someone else besides them I wouldn't want to hang out with.
What about Thor, Odin, and Loki? It could be fun, but it could be a total train wreck at the same time. And I can't really see any of them, celebrating Christmas. So.
And you know what? I take it back. You know who I'd like to spend also a Christmas with? The Bartons.
That's the right choice.
Yes.
That is probably the safest and sanest answer you're going to find. That is excellent choice there.
Yes. So, did he have another follow-up question?
Yeah, he did. Okay, he says, so which two-time MCU director do we think has the best films? So Gunn, Favreau, Coogler, Waititi, Peyton Reed from Ant-Man. I think that's all the people who've directed twice.
Yeah, twice. I would say Coogler. It's hard for me to, not saying if you have something different at that point to argue. I'm just saying right now Coogler is it's more recency bias at this point.
So from the spirit of his question, I would agree. It is Coogler. But to the letter of his question, I'm going to give it to the Russos. Now, I know what you're thinking. They're a 4-time director.
But I was going to choose the Russos.
At one point, though, they were a 2-time director with just Winter Soldier and Civil War. And I do think the Winter Soldier and Civil War as a duo is the strongest of the 2-time directors as well. And so, and by that logic, you could put in John Watts with Homecoming and Far From Home as well, but I'm still going to go with the Russos in that case. So to the letter of his question, it's the Russos. To the spirit of his question, I'm going to go Coogler.
I still, even with you took the letter of the question, I would still stick with Kugler
Okay,
on that one.
all right,
I
fine
still
choice.
stick it. But again, I can definitely, I was like, oh man, the Russos seem like a choice, but I was like, oh, is that technically, you found a loophole in there? You definitely found a
That's
loophole.
right.
So.
I was like, how do I get them in? Because they are my favorite directors in the MCU. And I also he did just say films, and so I assumed we couldn't count any directors who like did multiple episodes of a Disney Plus show, for example. But it wouldn't change my answers anyway.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we start heading into fact or fiction. So let me pull up the ones from last week. Number one, we will see at least one Wakandan appear in Riri Williams' Disney Plus show Ironheart. 83% said fact, 17% said fiction. Number two, Namor will get a solo movie spinning out of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. 61% said fact, 39% said fiction. Brent, hate to break it. Let's break some news to our audience.
Yeah, well, okay, so for years, and I think I mentioned this maybe last week,
Yeah.
I had thought that the rights for the Namor movie was tied up basically identical to the Hulk's. Universal has distribution for solo projects, but Marvel can use them in any kind of team up movie in any way they want. Well, since then I had seen stuff saying no, he was actually a Fox property that with the Fantastic, he went to them with the Fantastic Four. Well, now stuff is coming back out today that know that the first thing was right, that it really was Universal. So no, not at least not anytime soon, you know. And there have been reports that the Hulk stuff got kind of sorted out. They just haven't announced anything yet. But as of right now, I guess it's not possible for a Namor solo project.
Yeah. And then the last one, Hugh Jackman will wear a Wolverine costume with the mask in Deadpool 3. 90% said fact, 90% fact, 10% said fiction. All right, so this week is mine. So I will continue with Deadpool 3. It's something that I've said just on it, but I'm going to make it an official fact or fiction. In Deadpool 3, Deadpool will be recruited by Mobius and the TVA to prune rogue timelines that will include the Fox Marvel universe.
God, I love that idea so much. I'm going to say fact because it just sounds amazing.
Or he will be on the run, the reverse of that one, he will be on the run from the TVA and Mobius.
I actually think that's probably more likely, but I like the first one. Just I love the idea of them trying to put him in the little jacket that says TVA on the back. Sounds amazing.
Yep, exactly. And just the interactions alone. Yeah, I'm a fact as well, just because like you said, it seems like a fun story. My next one, Wanda will not appear back in the MCU before Agatha Coven of Chaos.
Oh man, we don't have a firm release date on that, do we?
We do not. But looking at what we do have coming up in between then, it's hard for me to see where she fits in.
Is that phase 5 or phase 6, Agatha?
I think it's phase 5.
Let's see. Yeah, no, I'm gonna give it to you. Fact.
Am I right? It's phase 5?
Yeah. Quickly scroll through, and I don't see anywhere where let's go ahead and just say discounting credit scenes. I'm gonna say that's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fact as well on that one. And my last one, we will get back one returning member of the Guardians of the Galaxy when the new team is formed after Volume 3.
At least one or only one?
One. Only back one. Not saying all of them are going to die. I'm just saying there will only be one original member when the Guardians reform.
I'm going to go ahead and say fact. I do think it's not a strong fact. I do think there's a chance that there could be a couple, like say Peter and Groot, for example, could team up. But I'll go ahead and say fact.
Yeah, just like you, it's not a strong fact, but I think that it's one of those that if they want to make a hard kind of not necessarily soft reboot or something, reintroducing team, I wouldn't say like none of them are coming back, because I like the idea of like someone staying on, be that kind of one, like, basically like a Mission Impossible team. You always have Ethan Hunt. It may be some new team members at that point, but Ethan's always going to be a constant there. So maybe Peter, maybe someone else. We'll have to see. But all right, I will post those Sunday afternoon, so let your voices be heard with that. And last, as always, we conclude not only this episode, but conclude this stint of Comic Book Club with issue 101 of Uncanny X-Men by Claremont. And we didn't want to, like we said last week, we extended by one issue just because it was really hard to leave off with issue 100 with that cliffhanger that we all knew what it's about, but it's just kind of fun to see how it shaped up in the comics with that iconic cover for this issue.
Yeah, and really, we probably really only needed like 5 or 6 more pages to wrap up the Phoenix storyline, or not the whole Phoenix storyline, but this opening chapter of it, where they crash land back on Earth. Phoenix like quite literally rises out, and it's cool. It's just some beautiful artwork here in these pages and stuff. I really really enjoy those pages. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess that story's done. We could have wrapped it up here. Granted, the next part is right, like again, the 90s animated series did this, but this next part, their take on it, like it is part of it becomes part of the Phoenix stuff, but for right now it feels like a very different story.
Yeah, between Dave Cockrum's art and B. Wilford's coloring of it, it's just, this is what will define the X-Men as we head into the Phoenix Saga, the Dark Phoenix Saga at that point. But what we know is, they did slightly retcon what happened to Jean at this moment at that point, which is very interesting as you read on into the issues of X Factor later on. But it's, again, they're all concerned about Jean. They do find out that Jean's going to survive, but basically Professor Xavier makes the rest of the team go on a required vacation. And I love that Logan's like saying, "You don't get to tell me what to do. I don't want to go on a vacation."
I mean, does Logan ever want to do anything he's told to do, though? So
Not really. And so they all decide to go away to Cassidy's newly acquired by inheritance castle to spend time, only to find out that his cousin, is his cousin or his brother? I think it's his cousin. Yeah, it's his cousin. Black Tom Cassidy sprung a trap for him with his good buddy, the Juggernaut, who is Charles Xavier's stepbrother, has sprung a trap for them. And we leave you with that, ladies and gentlemen, to continue on your own reading Claremont's illustrious run with that. But, all in all, Brent, I enjoyed getting to go back to these issues at that point. Say what you want about Silver Age, at that point as these X-Men are coming back into it. But, man, this is just the beginnings of what Claremont would do for the X-Men for many, many years.
Yeah, and they're definitely of their time.
Mm-hmm.
This particular issue had some little bit of misogyny, I'm going to go ahead and say, with like Nightcrawler and Colossus in relation to who was going to get to be Storm's date for the evening. She's basically like, screw you both, we'll just all go, we're all friends here. But it is of its time. So with that caveat, yes, it is very enjoyable. The art, the writing, it is very strong. I mean, there's a reason it's like probably the most famous run of X-Men of all time.
Yeah, so... But all right, so next week we will begin our new comic book club with Marvel Zombies. We are going to start off with Marvel Zombies Dead Days #1. So this technically came out after the first 5 issues, but it is in chronological order. It is a prequel that basically establishes what happened with the Marvel Zombies universe. So I'm very excited to read this. It's definitely a good favorite of mine. But yeah, so you can check that out on Marvel Unlimited, and we will check that out next week. And we bring volume 139 to a close. So, Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Sure, Brentech Prime on TikTok and still on Twitter. As long as it's there, I am as well. I have not bothered to make an account anywhere else, and frankly, I don't know that I'm going to, because I don't think it's going to be any of the existing things. Like, none of them are going to be the next Twitter. So, yeah, I'm just sticking with Twitter and TikTok for now.
There we go. But yeah, you can, and definitely want to make one last plug to OrganicPriceBooks.com, our official sponsor. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balgo. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel8 Podcast. You can email the show at MarvelAlliancePodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GWAPodNetwork. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, or fact or fictions that you have. Continue to rate and review the Marvel Line solo feed, GUA network feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, on whatever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. Well, Brent, post credits discussion tonight is one that we joked about. We joked about for a while. Um, and when this news came out, I had to make sure that I was not getting spoofed by a fake account nor a fake website before I put it in our chat. But Disney has officially replaced Bob Chapek as CEO. Not only that, they brought back Bob Iger as CEO in just like a shocker on Sunday night.
Yeah, not the first time a CEO has come back for a second round as CEO of a company. Steve Jobs is the first one that comes to mind for me, where he
Mm-hmm.
left Apple. They went through some dark times, and then he came back to right the ship. And Bob Iger looks to do the same thing. I think this is fantastic news overall. Reports are it's about a 2-year deal. Chapek, he basically, it seemed like he was pissing off everybody. He was pissing off the creatives. He was largely at fault
Mm-hmm.
for the Scarlett Johansson debacle related to Black Widow and Premier Access and the lawsuit there. He was making Kevin Feige mad, which should be like the number one person in arguably all of the movie industry right now that you don't piss off, because nobody has made more money than that guy. He's making Feige mad. He's pissing off the parks people, which is where Chapek came from.
Yeah.
He's raising a lot of the prices there, and he's cutting hours and stuff like that, and so he's hurting the park staff. I don't know, but for me, like, my first thought was this is great for Marvel, because Iger was a huge supporter of Kevin Feige and what Marvel Studios was doing, and Iger, like, he was behind like Pixar, the Fox, Lucasfilm, and Marvel all coming to Disney. Like, the guy's his history speaks for itself. Unfortunately, he was also behind Chapek succeeding him as CEO, so hopefully this will kind of allow him a redo on that one.
Yeah, as All in the Game says, fair to say he's coming back to clean up his mess after
Yes,
appointed Chapek. Yes,
exactly.
and I can't remember where it was from. I want to say either Variety, Vanity Fair, or something. I remember reading it last year in October, a outstanding expose about Iger's last few months and as the decision to select Chapek and things like that. It was a really, really interesting read. But the Hollywood Reporter kind of broke down some of your points at that point that of why basically Chapek was on the outs. Final decision to force out Chapek was reportedly made within the last week, and the change happening so quickly that very few people knew about Iger replacing Chapek, even at the highest levels. The deciding factor was his weak performance during the company's most recent quarterly earnings call in this month. Chapek touched on the necessity for cost-saving measures during the call, but only outlined what the plans would be later that week. The then CEO proposed plans such as a hiring freeze and layoffs. His tone-deaf mentioning of Disneyland's Oogie Boogie Bash in the face of a $1.5 billion loss in streaming wasn't just what left the board concerned, but it was Chapek's actions after the call and after the company subsequently suffered a 13% stock drop that contributed to the decision. These were major alarm bells that were given, including something that's recently looks like coming out that he might have been trying to fudge the numbers on Disney Plus to make it look like it was doing better than it actually was. We're not saying it's falling off a cliff, but was going to be kind of cherry picking some of the shows that were calling uplifting it versus the truth behind it.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, as somebody who's a huge believer in streaming in general, and while yes, I'm very happy to go see Knives Out tomorrow, I like that there's a streaming option in a month as well. Like, I'm very, very big proponent of streaming. It actually hasn't been performing super great. Like, in general, like, Wall Street is starting to say to these companies, you need to be making money. And they're not yet, right? Like, Netflix isn't really making money yet, or they're making very little. HBO Max is, and Disney Plus is. Like, none of these big streamers are truly profiting anything yet. And so, I mean, that's not entirely on Chapek. That is partially, maybe even largely on Iger as well, because it was Iger who basically was there for, like, not quite the launch of it, but all the run up to it, right? Like, if I remember right, Iger technically left. No, Iger was still there, because Chapek came on in February 2020, right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah,
So Chapek kind of had a raw deal with that, but Iger, he had a large part of the major part of the launch and stuff, and so like they're gonna have to look at some things there. But JPEG, his handling of as representing Disney during Florida's the bill with the Don't Say Gay bill and stuff,
Yeah.
basically pissed off a lot of Disney staff and Disney creatives. Basically, they thought he should have been speaking out, and Disney should have been speaking out against that kind of homophobic language, a homophobic bill, and he wasn't. He didn't. He basically did too little, too late when it comes to that.
Yeah. All in the game's asking about any word on his exit payout. Right now, it's not official, but it could be worth more than $23 million. I'm reading from Fortune's article about it. That's including the millions more he could collect in the coming year as the company's share price recovers. This amount is based off of by Bloomberg News using disclosures from regulatory filings. Chapek's contract entitles him to collect a salary for the full duration of his term, even if he's ousted prematurely. His term was recently extended to mid-2025, and the paychecks between now and then add up to roughly $6.5 million. He is also entitled to a pension for for almost 30 years with the company. As of October 2021, filings show that it stood at $16.9 million. And that money is his regardless of the circumstances of his departure. So, as some people say, Bad Bob is not going to be hurting too badly.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I like none of that bothers me because it's not like
That's standard.
It's not like he stole from the company. It's not like he embezzled from the company or anything
Correct.
like that. Like no, he did not perform well enough for the company. So this is standard. He had a contract. He had recently signed it. He should get paid out on his contract. So and I mean he's got quite the payday coming over the next few years, but I just keep thinking, like, ultimately, I'm so glad for this. Like, in 2014, when Feige got Marvel split out from underneath Marvel Entertainment, a.k.a. Perlmutter at the time, largely because Feige wasn't able to do what he wanted to do because Perlmutter was a huge roadblock to things like the Black Panther and Captain Marvel movies. Movies that, to this day, I firmly believe we would still not have seen had Iger not allowed Feige to separate Marvel Studios out from under Perlmutter. And so he's still, I'm just, keeping it to just the focus of the Marvel Alliance show. For Marvel, I think this is a good thing. It's also short term because he's going to have to, basically find and hopefully train and hopefully do a better job of it, his next successor.
Yeah, could I see him getting a small other extension if things are left in place? Yeah, it is very easy at that. But this is the third time he's coming back to the company at that point. The summer I read his book on leadership at that point. It is a quick read, but it's a fascinating read looking at his career and where he's come from and how smart he is, how very much dedicated to the creative side, and how many people he studied under and learned a lot from. So I highly recommend his book on leadership at that point. But you're right, from a Marvel perspective, he's a creative focused CEO. He believes in the creatives. He believes in Disney for what it can and should be about. I mean, the biggest expansion of Disney in the 15 years under his leadership had never reached higher at that point since Michael Eisner.
I want to say this was from Slash Film, this description. I could be mistaken there, so forgive me if I am. But basically, they said something like Chapek is a business CEO, whereas Iger was a creative business. He understood that, yes, Disney is a business, but Disney is also a massive creative endeavor, and you need to let your creatives do what they do. And Chapek was interfering in a way that Iger wasn't, and it was his right as a CEO, but if they're not performing to the board standards, well, it's their right to do what they did. So ultimately, I'm happy with this news.
Yeah, and especially, like I said, I praise that book, but it's also very interesting to see how Iger got into that role as CEO to begin with and that whole journey. So definitely read that. But I'm excited that Bob Iger's coming back. And we will see what this holds for Marvel, for Disney as a whole. But again, we will see you next week at our regularly scheduled time, Thursday at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. Enjoy your weekend and all the leftovers for our American Thanksgiving friends. Talk to you later, all. Bye-bye.